I'm Saniya. I have experience working with a lot of distributed systems and big data. Is just your coding skills, your problem solving abilities. A lot of recruiters will contact you. Giving few mock interviews would definitely help.
Hey everyone. Recently, I did some of the webinars, and in each of the webinar, I get this very common question from the people like how should I prepare for the interviews when I'm in college? When I'm in college, there are college placements that are going on, and when should I start preparing? My college placements are in next 2 months, so is it good enough time for me to prepare like in next 2 months? So that's one of the most popular question that I get in webinars. The another question which I get is like, how do I switch profiles when if I'm, let's say, in DevOps profile, if I am, let's say, in QA profile, and if I want to switch to developer profile, how can I make that switch? How should I apply? How should I prepare? What should I prepare? So there are tons of questions which most of the candidates have. I actually have Sania with me today. She actually lived the same journey. She started from college. She got the placements during college. Then she did a DevOps job. Then she actually switched from DevOps to developer job. So let's directly listen from her how she made this happen. How did she work throughout her journey so that she could get the placements during college. She could switch her job. So Sanya, can you just introduce yourself to the video viewers?
Hi everyone. I am Saniya and I have pursued my BTech in Information Technology from Triple IT Allahabad. After my graduation, I joined DirectEye where I worked for 1 year as a DevOps engineer. And after that, I moved to Cubole where I was working as a software developer for like roughly 1.5 years. And then I made a switch to LinkedIn where I'm working as a software engineer. So yeah, I have experience working with a lot of distributed systems and big data engines, infrastructure and platform development.
Cool. As you already told us, like you switched your profile from DevOps to, you started with DevOps and then you switched to developer in some startup or some tier two company, I would say like Cubole. Then you switched to a very good company like LinkedIn. Like we all would like to know like your step by step journey, like how you started from college itself, how you prepared over there for Direct Eye. Then when you were trying to switch from DevOps to development role, and then from a small company to a bigger company. Like let's start from step by step. So from the beginning, like when you were in college, how were you preparing for the interviews? Like what were your focuses? When did you start? So those sort of things, if you can just tell us.
So like when we were in college, so like this is with most of the reputed colleges that the placements it happens in the fourth year, generally when the session starts. So as I
Right,
am from triple IT Abad, so the place college placements were starting in July, which we all were aware of. And then
right,
before July we had a summer break starting from May. So I know,
right,
like, so we had time from May till beginning July to prepare for our placements. So now once the summer break started, so then I knew that I had to prepare for the companies that will be coming in July. So I have to
right,
start early in May itself. And
right,
like as told, like there were many seniors who guided us and they told us that data structures and algorithms are the most important topic which are generally asked in all the coding interviews. So that is the most
right,
important topic that you all should prepare. So I started with data structures itself. Now, say for example, I pick each topic, say linked list, and then I started revising linked list, say the theoretical concepts, and then few questions on singly linked list, then few questions on doubly linked list, then some questions on circular doubly linked list. So that way, I became confident. Okay, so my linked list topic has been prepared. Then I moved to another topic, and this way I first revised each topic and did a few questions of each topic. And so that way a lot of time went, like 1.5 month went in like brushing up all the topics, doing the basic questions of each topic. And then once I was familiar with all the topics, I had touched every topic, at least 15 to 20 questions of each topic were done. Then I moved to like a coding on a coding platform like lead code or interview bit. So I extensively did both lead code and interview bit in the remaining time that I had before the placement started. And once when I had extensively spent 2 months in just coding and revising data structures and algorithm. Then I moved to like revising operating systems and databases and networking. Since most of these concepts are theoretical, so I just divided my days into like I'll spend 3 days on revising operating system. Then the entire 3 days I was only revising operating system. Then I was not doing anything else. My focus was only on one topic. Then next 3 days I spent on revising databases, and the next 3 days on networking, so that like if I'm distracted, I'll not be able to revise it properly. So it was better to divide my days into specific topics and then focus on that specific topic for few days.
Okay, so as you already, yeah, sorry, as you already said, like you were sort of revising your concepts in those 2 months. So did you already know like you will be needing this thing from your college days? So did you start coding right from the beginning? When did you start coding per se? Like how did you know you should start coding? Did someone tell you?
Yes, actually, Triple IT Allahabad has an extensive coding culture, and there are always some seniors who always guide us on telling how important the coding is, because it is that one thing which will land you to a good organization. Because most of the companies, they'll ask coding questions itself in their interviews. Because from a fresher, when a company comes to your college, they are not expecting much from you. They understand that you are just a college fresher. You don't have extensive experience
Right.
with big projects or anything. It is just your coding skills, your problem solving abilities, your analytical skills, which are mostly judged. So for that you have to
Right.
develop some coding skills. So I started coding mostly at the end of second year. I know that is also a bit late. Many people in my batch, they started right from first year itself. But since we also had internships in our
Right.
third year, so the desire to get an internship was the
Right.
one that for like motivated everyone to start coding, and then yeah, revising the basic data structures and algorithms and everything.
Correct. So if I just want to, like summarize maybe, then you should start your coding as early as possible, maybe second year or maybe end of first year. And then you will only get time to brush up the concepts in those 2 months. Don't, uh, delay yourself for those 2 months. Ki I'll do coding and all in those 2 months. Only revision would be possible, not the complete coding would be possible, right? That's what we want to say.
Yeah, because data structure and algorithm is a vast ocean and you cannot do everything in just 2 months. It is better that you have prior
Cool.
idea of everything and then you just spend some time revising all the concepts.
Cool. So then, like, let's move to applying. Like, how did you apply during your college days? Like, only the placements coordinator thing helped, or did you apply off campus also?
Did not apply off campus, since our college itself the brings a lot of companies, and so that was the only easy way out to reach out to the companies. And I think that way all the students of our college also got placed. So not much was thought on applying off campus at that time.
So when you set for the interviews, what was asked in those interviews? How were your experiences during college day? Yeah, in the college days. Maybe in direct eye, maybe in some other companies. Like, how are the questions in general? Were the questions more specific on coding? Were the questions more specific in OS and DBMS? How were the weightage and how were the rounds like in general?
Yes. So, like in general, be it any organization, all the reputed organizations that were coming to a college, they don't have very high expectations from the students. They know that these are just college students. So, basic is the coding and the problem solving skill that is judged. Most of the companies that came, they had an online round either on Hacker Earth or Hacker Rank, through in which there were at least like one or two coding questions, two to three, it may vary, but two to three coding questions were there. And then the students were able to solve most of the questions. Like say if they are able to solve three questions, or even if they are able to solve two questions, depending upon the company and their judging criteria, they were shortlisted. And then all students, those who were shortlisted from from that online coding round, they moved to the next step. Now next step had just two to three face to face interviews. In those face to face interviews as well, there were uh, one or two coding rounds depending upon the company, and then one round in which they would ask about your projects that you have done in college, a general HR or a hiring manager kind of round. And I think that is it. Not very extensive any other thing, or any system design or any other thing is asked in while you are in college and you are just sitting for your placements. It is mostly coding, your problem solving skills, how you are approaching a problem, that is mostly focused on. So I think coding is the most important thing if you want to crack a placement in college.
So you also mentioned projects. Did they make any weightage? Like, are they important, or are they like because they were in the resume? So some companies just asked, like, is it like must someone do projects?
It is like even if you have done a small project, you should be able to explain it, because like whenever a face to face round starts, they'll always ask about yourself, tell me something about yourself. So apart from telling your name, you'll have to tell some key highlights of your work in your college. You should like, even
Right.
if it's a small project, you can tell you have worked on some database project, you've made a small thing or something, so that will always leave a good impression on the interviewer itself. So, and
Right.
also in the hiring manager round, they specifically ask in general about the things that you have worked on in college or any other thing apart from your studies that you have done in college. So it's like a good advantage, and obviously it matters to a lot of extent, because that will make you distinguish from other candidates which are also there. Like if there are 10
Correct.
candidates and there are six who are easily able to explain their project, they've done some decent projects and they're easily able to explain it, so that is like an added advantage for the students in college.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Okay. Now let's move to the DevOps thing. So when you were trying to move from DevOps to direct hire, how were you preparing then? Like, is that the preparation was the same, like coding and all, or was there something else also which you targeted?
So since I was moving to a developer profile where I know that coding is the most important thing that is asked, so I was focusing my preparation towards the developer profile itself. Since I wasn't
Right.
applying to the DevOps profile to in any other organization, so my preparation was same as I did it in college. Since for any, be it any organization, for any software engineer role, there are certain the data structures, algorithms, and these coding interviews are definitely there. At least two to three coding
Right.
interviews you will definitely encounter in any organization. So I was focusing
Right.
my preparation towards the developer whatever they ask for a developer profile only. But at the same time, I knew that since I am a 1 year experience candidate and they'll definitely ask me the work of my current organization, so I should be able to explain them whatever I have worked on, be it in a DevOps profile or anything. I should be able to explain whatever I have done in my 1 year of my professional career.
Did you apply to any other company also, other than Qbol? Like any two, three companies, or Qbol was the only company?
No, I had applied to a few companies, but like actually I had applied to a lot of companies, but then there were
Okay.
few who were not accepting my resume because did not have a developer background. Since I had
Okay.
since say for example there was an opening for a Java developer in an organization, so they said that since you don't have that kind of background, so we cannot proceed with your candidature. So I also faced like rejections in the initial stage itself, because I did not have that similar background for which the profile whatever the demand of the company was. So that is why because of this I was not able to apply to a large number of companies. But there were few
Okay.
companies who were technology agnostic. They did not care much on my previous work background. They were mostly
Okay.
concerned about how my interview will go, and then whatever work they'll assign me like in their developer profile, I'll happily do it. So they were much not much concerned about from which background I'm coming.
There is a clearly a segregation, I would say, which you're trying to say. Ki if you yourself are good enough and you prepare well, then the current profile, if you are currently in DevOps or let's say in testing for some other people, it will not matter that much. But resume shortlisting will get hampered a bit because some companies do filter out. But like now, how did you then proceed? Like, Qbol, anyways, it's it's not that a bad company also. So how did you get your resume shortlisted? Did you do referral? Did you do application at some place? How did you apply?
So like just to reiterate to what you said, even if like any of my viewers are from the testing profiles or any other profile and they want to move to a developer profile or anything, they might face a small hindrance, but it will be just for very few organizations. There are a lot and lot of organizations that will happily accept your resume, and it will all depend on how you're able to crack the interview. It won't matter much from which background you are coming, until unless they have some strict requirements. So it's better not to apply in those organizations which have very strict requirements depending on the background. But apart from that, there are a lot of companies which can easily accept your resume. So that is just one thing.
Cool.
Yeah. So for Qbol also, what happened was they also shortlisted my resume for the DevOps profile only, but I strictly
Okay.
spoke to them, and I said that I want to move to the developer profile. So the recruiter gave
Okay.
me two options. They said that we'll send you a Hacker Earth link of both the profiles, both DevOps and developer, and depending on your performance, we'll take your candidature ahead. So they send me both the links that you can take the test for both, and then depending on your performance, we'll decide. So I agreed on
Right.
that. So I gave the hacker test for both the developer profile and the ops profile. And since I was able to perform well in
Right.
both, and so they said that okay, then now we'll take your candidature ahead for the developer profile itself.
And how did you apply? Did you directly apply on their website or did you do referral or something?
It was an employee referral from a college senior.
Okay. So how did you apply to then other companies? Like, let's say if someone wants to switch, what are the other ways? Are the referral is one way. Let's say you did for Qbol. What are some other ways? Did you try some other ways also, like applying somewhere directly, like maybe LinkedIn, Naukri, or directly reaching out to some recruiters on LinkedIn? Like, what are some other ways for some other people through which you might have got some interviews in some other companies at that time?
So, apart from getting employee referrals, there are two other platforms that I have used extensively. One is LinkedIn, and the other is InstaHire. They also have a very good platform where you just update your profile, your skill sets, your the technologies, everything that you have worked on, upload your resume, and there are a lot of companies who can see your profile there. A lot of recruiters will contact you, seeing your profile, and they'll directly call you. So
Right.
InstaHire is one platform, and then LinkedIn itself. There are a lot of recruiter in mails that had come, and so these are the two platforms that I extensively used for like switching.
Got it. Cool. So how will the rounds with Qbol? Again, the coding and design. Were there any design rounds also, or were again the coding rounds were there, or what was expectations from Qbol?
So there were 5 rounds in total, including the hiring manager round, in which there were 3 coding rounds and one was a design discussion round. Since I was just a 1 year experienced candidate, so they did not have very high expectations from me when it comes to design round. It was an
Okay.
open-ended discussion. Just they just wanted to know how my thought process will work if a problem of such sort is given. So
Okay.
yes, so actually the thing is that with experience, the expectations from the interviewers also changes. So since I was just a 1 year experienced candidate, so they did not expect much in the system design round. But yes, for the coding round, they expected me to give the working solutions and which are optimal in both space and time complexities.
Okay. Again, the coding was again the most important thing which these people asked at Qbol, and that's how you were able to land a job at Qbol. Cool. So now you were at Qbol for around two years or more.
Approximately 2 year, like it's 1 year 9 months.
And then you thought of moving to some big company, like LinkedIn is a very big company, and it's a very good company in product space. So when you were trying to again switch from Qbol to LinkedIn, like how did you again do this journey? Like again application, again preparation. How are the process? Because now you are also experienced. So were there more learning? Anything else that you included in your learning?
Yes, so like once I decided that now I'll look out for other opportunities, I did not just start applying immediately. What I did was I just gave 1 month to myself where I wasn't doing anything else. Like I wasn't applying, I wasn't preparing my resume, talking to recruiters or anything. I just, once I made peace with, okay, yes, I will move to another organization, I gave 1 month to myself where I was just revising the, as I mentioned earlier at itself, data structures and algorithms. So since because once you are experienced, you also have to have, you also have office work, you also have to devote time in your office. So once I had like some free hours after my office, I always used to revise these data structures and algorithms first, because it was a long time since I had touched that data structure and algorithm. So I thought that first I will revise my concepts. Once I am confident enough that I have revised my data structures and algorithms, then I will build a resume and then I will start applying. So this is like a suggestion to all the viewers who are watching this, that if you decide to like switch to another organization, don't just immediately start applying thinking that my like I'll keep on applying and the preparation can go in parallel. It can also like distract you from preparing, because there'll be interviews scheduled, recruiter calls and everything. So just move one step back, Give 1 month time to yourself first, revise everything, and then once you have spent at least 1 month in revising everything, now move. Now comes the step two, where you like prepare your resume, include the key highlights of everything that you have worked on, and then ask for referrals, as well as update your profiles on LinkedIn and InstaHire or any other platform that you might be familiar with or using. And then you start asking for referrals or talking to recruiters. And then at the same time, move to some other topic that you're revising. Maybe you can start doing questions on lead code or interview bit, or maybe you can spend some time understanding your whatever work you have done, because whenever there'll be a recruiter call, they'll always ask your background first. They'll be interested in your career history, so you should be able to explain it properly. So that is like all the step two, where you should know what you have worked on. You should be able to explain it to others. And then comes the step three, where you will have interviews scheduled and everything. So the preparation will definitely go in parallel, but before starting that, you should always spend some time not applying anywhere, but just focusing on your preparation.
So how much time did you all actually prepare? Like how many months did you give for your preparation? Like 6 months or 9 months? How much time did you give?
Not 6 or 9 months. I like once I decided that I have to like look out for other opportunities, I spent 1.5 months only revising, like brushing up my concepts, linked list, trees, or graphs, or all these like questions similar to these topics. So I just spent 1.5 months only doing the questions, basic, easy, medium level, or whatever. If you do it daily, take out few hours from your schedule, then I think that is enough. But it then again, it depends upon your, since you know your caliber and you know your ability. So if you think that you are if you think that you are familiar with these concepts, and you can it can be like a 15 or 20-day affair. Or if you think you're a little weak in them, then you can give a 2 month stretch time to yourself. So it all depends on how you are familiar with the concepts and how much time you need to revise them.
Then you applied to LinkedIn again, right? So again, it was the referral, or did you do it some other way?
LinkedIn, it was employee referral. I also like before interviewing at LinkedIn, I also interviewed at Microsoft, which was like which was
Okay.
in which through which in which I was contacted by a recruiter through InstaHire itself. So which is why I'm also emphasizing on InstaHire as well, because there are
Okay.
a lot of recruiters from reputed organizations which contact you via InstaHire as well.
So how were the rounds with LinkedIn? What did they ask? How many rounds were there?
So first step is the recruiter call, where a recruiter from LinkedIn, they call you, and then they ask about your background, your career history, and they the key highlights of the work that you have done. They'll try to understand whatever work that you have done, see if they have like see if there is there an appropriate match with what they are looking for. And they'll also explain what is the role and what are the expectations from the role for which they are hiring. And once this conversation is done, so they asked me for a slot for the telephonic interview. So interview was the first interview that was
Right.
done. Yeah, in the and also the recruiting process
Okay.
at LinkedIn is very streamlined. So they also give you a prep doc before the interview. So there is a prep doc which is sent by a recruiter,
Okay.
where they mention that there'll be like a coding round, and what is expected out of you in that coding round. So it was very helpful that you can go through that
Okay.
that prep doc and understand how you should prepare, so that you are able to meet their expectations. So the first round was the telephonic.
And telephonic round was coding round.
Yes, it was a coding round.
Cool. So next round, you got shortlisted in telephonic round. Then what happened? Then what was the next round?
The once I was shortlisted from the like in the telephonic round, so again they asked a schedule to like they asked me to come down to their LinkedIn office for an on-site interview, and they already gave me a schedule beforehand that there'll be
Okay.
5 rounds, and again a prep doc for those 5 rounds, that what each round will be and what will be the expectations from each round. And the document is so helpful that so if there are three coding rounds, then they clearly define the differences between the three round, that like in one coding round not much algorithmic ability is required, then in coding round 2 more of an algorithmic skill will be required, then in coding round 3 more of concurrency and multi-thread programming will be required. So the document is really
Okay.
helpful, and if you are interviewing at LinkedIn, the recruiters will definitely give you the document before your on-site interview.
And when you reached the on-site interviews, there were 5 rounds. So how what were the formats of these rounds?
So there are 5 rounds, each round of 1 hour each, and mostly there the three rounds were coding rounds, and as I told you earlier, those coding rounds were also different. In one coding round they asked less of more of problem solving and less of algorithm or deep diving into the question. Then the second coding round was more towards targeting towards algorithms, and the third coding round was targeted more towards the concurrency and the multi-threaded programming regime. So these were the three different coding rounds that were there. Then there was a system design round, and finally a hiring manager round. So total 5 rounds of 1 hour each.
How did you prepare for system design?
So for system design specifically, I followed the grokking the system design interview patterns at educative.io. I know it's very popular, and since everybody knows about it, so that is why I also used it, because it is easily available, and it has very detailed description on each topic. The famous questions are always there, and apart from studying like revising theoretically from there, I followed a lot of video tutorials on YouTube. Like, say, for example, I want to understand how the system design for Uber. So I just searched on YouTube. There are a lot of video tutorials which are available, prepared by many people, and so I just watched through one or two videos so that I made notes of it so that I'm able to understand how this specific system is designed. So I chose few famous examples, mostly of those questions which are generally asked in system design interviews, and tried to understand it through video tutorials and prepared notes for it. That's the only thing I think. Educative.io and video tutorials are the only thing that I did for preparing for system design interviews.
Is it enough like going these two things, or do you think there is something else which you might have also missed, and you want to share with the viewers? They might maybe include in their preparation. Maybe you found it later on or something.
So there is also on educative.io itself, there is grokking the object oriented design interview question. There is a series on that itself, so one can also go through that. Actually it is very extensive, so few examples should suffice for that. It's also, so that is also one thing that I would recommend going through it.
And does design patterns help? Learning design patterns help for LLD?
I don't think anybody specifically asks about design patterns. Uh, Not at like if you are just 1 or 2 year experienced candidate, they generally don't ask. If you know it beforehand, it's a good to have skill, but even if you don't know it, don't spend too much time preparing on that. There are other important topics which have more weightage in an interview.
Like coding and system design, high level system design, right?
A high level system design and specifically coding. Like also I have seen examples like many of other candidates whose system design and other rounds went well, but the coding round did not go well and the candidate was not selected. So now even I've started feeling that coding round are the most important rounds. Generally if you are a college fresher or a 1 or 2 year experienced candidate, coding is the most important round.
But then for your case, you were at least 3 years experience, right? When you applied for LinkedIn. So still then also coding was important.
I was 2.5 years experienced, but yes, the coding is of most is the most important round. If you're not able to score well in coding rounds, then your performance in any other round, say hiring manager or system design, does not matter much if you have performed poorly in coding rounds.
Cool. So what do you think, which one thing you really like about your current company, LinkedIn? You have like around 6 months, or how much time are you there in LinkedIn now?
It's been like approximately 1 2 months here. So
Okay, so what do you think you really like about LinkedIn now? Like,
yeah, actually, there isn't specifically one thing that I can say I like about LinkedIn. There are a lot of things, but the foremost being the work here. Like, since LinkedIn has a lot of tools and products which are built in house by the developers at LinkedIn itself, and I myself am working on a project which has been open sourced by LinkedIn. So, I'm getting to learn and work on all these tools and the product. So the work and the learning curve is going great for me here. So work is one thing, and then secondly, everybody knows that LinkedIn is famous for its culture. It's a very employee friendly and an employee centric company. They give a lot of perks and benefits to their employees, and they always try to keep their employees happy in any way possible. So I think the work and the work culture at LinkedIn is pretty amazing.
cool. So that's almost it. Any final tip or suggestion you want to give to the viewers? Like, just one tip as a developer, what should they do to maybe get at better companies?
Since I have like experience with giving interviews and everything, I realized that there are a lot of opportunities out there. There are a lot of companies who are looking out for good developers. So if you just target that you'll have to, that you, this is your dream company and you want to like crack the interview for this company, I don't think there is anything that can stop you, because companies themselves are looking out for people. So it's just that you have to prepare well, give the interview, and you'll definitely crack it. You can give few mock interviews before your final interview. You can try to give a few mock interviews so that you know where did you lack, how were you able to explain the problem or anything. So giving few mock interviews would definitely help before giving the interview for your dream company.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. Thanks, Anya. Thanks for your valuable answers. Like, I think these will all help like candidates a lot, like in their preparation, in applying, in overall getting jobs in big companies. Just keep applying, keep learning, and keep